Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Yeah.
The views expressed by J. Michael McCoy are the views of the hosts and guests of Max World Live, and not necessarily the views of Webcast One Live, its staff, its management, the cleaning crew, Dave the electric guy, the guy who cleans the skywalk, the woman who brought in the cookies, the management staff of Hubble Real Estate, the parking lot attendant at Keck Parking, the wait staff over at Miss Kitty's, the coffee crew at Frederick's, the man in the street corner willing to work for food, Rob Spearman, Max Crab, or anyone else of sound mind. Should you be offended, provoked, intimidated, shocked, confused, or just made to think independently, log on to maxworldlive.com right now. It's your voice we want to hear in Max World. And now, live from the palatial studios of Webcast One Live, your host, J. Michael McCoy.
Welcome. This is a special edition of Max World Live today with Tom Coates sitting to my left, your right. We thank you for being here today, and we have a special guest in the studio today, none other than Sioux City. Are you like the mouth of Sioux City? Would we call you that?
Yeah, that'll work. Yeah.
All right. The mouth of Sioux City, Iowa, Max Clovis. He is a candidate for the United States
Did you say
Senate.
Max?
He just did.
Sam.
I was about to say
I had Max written down.
We've got a guest with a simple name. It's not Abdul Samad or one of these others that we've had on here where you can butcher the name. Sam Clovis is hard to mess up, and you just did.
Are you cherishing this? Are you enjoying this moment
I would
in
have
time?
taken at least even money bet that something would have happened to that name at some point.
Sam is running for the Tom Harkins seat. He is a Republican, and he is in that highly contested and tightly contested race that's, what, 5 ways? Six ways?
6 ways now.
Wow. 6 with you.
6 with me.
All right. And so first of all, just tell us, thank you. Tell us a little bit about where does Sam come from and who is Sam?
Well, I was born and raised in Kansas, and when my senior year of high school, I received appointments to West Point in the United States Air Force Academy, and I trundled off to Colorado Springs and went into the Air Force Academy, and 4 years later, I got a degree and a commission, and I spent 25 years on active duty in the Air Force as a fighter pilot, and retired as a full colonel and inspector general for NORAD and U.S. Space Command. Went into the private sector, was a very successful businessman, picked up a little bit more education along the way, and got a doctorate in public administration, and decided that I wanted yet another career, so I became a college professor, and today I'm a tenured full professor at Morningside College in Sioux City, Iowa, where I am the chair of the Department of Business Administration and Economics, and along the way I picked up a little time in the chair as a radio talk show host for 3.5 years, 600 broadcasts on KSCJ 1360 in Sioux City, and I also am a former fellow at the Homeland Security Institute, and I still lecture at the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California, in the Department of Homeland Security's Executive Leadership Program.
He's got more gray matter than the two of us put together, Mac. That's what he just said.
I was going to say, this guy's so far above my pay grade, I can't even see that high. Well, I just like the fact that you're a radio talk show host.
There you go.
That's what I like.
There you go.
But congratulations. You have had a good life.
I have. It's been a very great and rich life, and I'm blessed in so many ways.
Special little someone at home?
Yes, the love of my life, Charlotte, and we live in Hinton, Iowa, out in the country, and it's Char and her son, Con, my stepson. I have 2 sons by a previous marriage that are both grown men, and one's a squadron commander, special operations squadron commander at Cannon Air Force Base in Clovis, New Mexico, of all places,
Yeah.
and then the
Named after you, of course.
Well, I don't know. Maybe the family, but and I have another son who's in the restaurant business in Colorado.
All right. Well, it's a pleasure to have you here.
It's great to be here.
And as I told you earlier, when I get to go with my wife, honey, if you're listening, I get to go with my wife to her in-laws, which is in Platte, South Dakota.
Platte, South Dakota.
You're one of those stations, and you're not always on it, but you're one of those stations that I tune into.
Yeah.
And well, anyway, you have other fans in my wife's family.
Well, it's wonderful. Yeah.
All right. Why? 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 You have a beautiful wife. You live on a farm. You have a talk show host. You are a tenured professor. You are why? Seriously, for what? The benefits?
No. The reason I'm running is because when I looked at the field that was being arrayed to run in this race, I felt like that most of the people that were entering this race were entering it as a career move. And that's not what this country needs. This country needs citizen legislators, need people who are fearless, who have the will and the courage to go to the well of the Senate and do what's best for the country, and who will not get their heads turned by special interests. I think special interests have corrupted our government to the point of almost no return. I think it's almost irretrievable. And I think if we don't send people who believe in a balanced budget, you're not going to get a balanced budget. If we don't send people there who believe in cutting spending, you're not going to get spending cuts. If you don't send people there who believe in putting a cork in special interests, it's not going to happen. So this is why I think it's my duty to run for the United States Senate. I have a lot of other things I could be doing.
Yeah, really.
And I think that this is something that I prayed on this. I'm a man of deep faith, and I think this is where the hand has taken me. And I think it's my duty to do this, and I'm going to do the very best I can.
And when you told the boss that you were going to go and run for Tom Harkin's seat and she could be a senator's wife, she said...
Well, she said, you do what you have to do. Now, I want to tell you a story. And I usually say this for the close, but I'll bring it out now because it shows you her character as much as anything else. When I was a cadet, I went into the Air Force Academy on June the 26th of 1967. So that's a long time ago. And 17 years old, been out of high school a month, and my brother was there, my girlfriend, and my mom and dad. And when we got there early and I said my goodbyes, and Dad handed me a ring, and he said, I want you to take this ring. He said, it's all beat up, it's tarnished, but one day you'll know what this ring means. And because right now you don't, you have no idea, but one day you will. Well, every day I was a cadet, I had this ring on me, and I had the New Testament my mother had given me. Every mission I flew in the United States Air Force, which were a lot. As a fighter pilot, you fly a lot of missions. Every mission I flew with this ring. And
is this the one you're wearing?
No, this one right here.
Okay, all right. So you have it on.
I have it on, and that New Testament. And when I retired from the service after 25 years, my son was a cadet, but he was not into this kind of thing. He didn't want the trinkets and baubles, so we retired the ring along with me. And when I decided to run for the Senate, our local newspaper guy asked me to bring some artifacts of well, only a person our age can understand artifacts.
Yeah, I'm thinking dinosaur bones, of course.
So I dug around some boxes we had stored downstairs, and I found this ring. I was totally by accident. And so I went up and showed it to my wife, and Char is her name, Charlotte, and she said, why don't you get that fixed and sized and everything. So I took it to a local jewelry store, and they got it sized and got it polished, and they got it back from them. And I took it home to her, and I showed it to her, and this is the kind of person she is. She says, from now on, every day you're on the campaign trail, I want you to wear that ring, because it represents the service you and your family have given and the service you have yet to give. And so I wear this ring every day. That's her.
That's a great story.
Wow.
It's a great story. Isn't it nice to have somebody like that by your side?
Well, and when I went on the radio, I was kind of a lark. I said, well, I don't know how long it'll last. I don't know if I'll be any good. And she said, of all the things that you've ever done since we've been together, this is probably the one thing that I think is the best expression of who you are.
Yeah.
And I'm very comfortable. I love radio, and I really do. I really dig it, and to use the old phrase, but she's a wonderful person, and she's a high school English teacher, and she's
So there isn't any ain'ts going on in your house.
Well, I'll tell you what, I can't write anything she doesn't look at, and I get all my grammar and commas corrected. So she and I argue over commas all the time. So
Commas?
commas.
Well, Tom has made, even though he's a businessman like yourself, he's made quite a name for himself in the community, but his family, can I tell him this?
Sure.
His family's kind of telling him to shut up.
Oh, really?
Because he's starting to get a little, well, we all are. We're all getting a little concerned about this country and this state, and we're starting to say some things that a lot of people on the other side want to take us to task for, which is fine with all of us. But
Bring it on.
That's right.
Game on.
All right. That's a great story. Thanks for sharing that. And he's wearing the ring. All right. So you want to run because you want to make a difference.
Right.
Offense taken out of the room. I listened to some bozo last night on the television. And that's what he wants to do, too. I mean, but isn't that, nobody ever gets up and says, I want to run for U.S. Senate because I'll have a lifelong pension and I'll be a big shot and people put money in my pocket and I'll never be poor again.
Wouldn't you wish they would?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I that's not me. And here's the deal. I would, I'm not naive enough to think that one person is going to get elected in the state of Iowa, going to the United States Senate, going to change the world. We have a guy in the White House right now who has fundamentally tried to take a sledgehammer to the Constitution of the United States, essentially take a sledgehammer to the institutions that we hold dear, and all of these other things. But one person can go into the United States Senate and change the Senate.
Right.
That, I think, is really what my task is, and that's kind of my calling. And I view it this way. I'm an old baseball player. I played baseball for a long time. I played amateur baseball long after my knees told me to quit. And so, and I know because of teams that I've been on, that in the dugout, the chemistry in the dugout oftentimes determines the outcomes on the field.
Sure.
If you change the chemistry in the dugout, you'll change the outcomes on the field. I think me going to the United States Senate, and maybe a handful more like me going to the United States Senate, that will change the chemistry in that dugout, thus changing the outcomes in the Senate.
Yeah, look at what the Tea Party did at Congress.
Simon Conway, when I first decided to run, Simon on WHO does the Drive Time show, and Simon asked me a question. He said, I ask all the candidates this. Are you more like John McCain or Ted Cruz? And after I stopped laughing, and I said, well, I think I would stand with Ted Cruz. But Simon, I want to tell you something. After several months, maybe Ted Cruz would want to stand with me.
That's a good line.
It is, and I really believe that. I think because that you have to go in there and you have to have, I think above all else, a person today in this environment to get into politics and want to run for national office, and the United States Senate is a national office, you have better have the courage to be able to go into that Senate and know that all hell is going to fall on you for standing up for principle. And if you can't take that, you got no business in this race.
Sam Clovis, he is a candidate for the United States Senate, Tom Harkin's seat. Went off to college on June 26 of 1967, right in the middle of the Vietnam era.
Absolutely.
Did you think you were heading over there?
Absolutely.
Did you go?
No.
No, didn't have to go?
No, the war ended about the time I got out of pilot training, so it was just never had the chance. And frankly, then Desert Storm came, and I was too old to go to Desert Storm. So
yeah, and in the middle there's Grenada.
There was
really no big
Grenada,
deal.
well,
Yeah.
You know, and they didn't need us much then. So
No, Reagan had that one figured out, I
pretty
think.
much.
All right, Tom has got a plethora of questions I know he wants to ask you.
That's a big word.
He's I've saved all my big words for you today. And if you've got a question that you'd like to ask Sam, you're welcome to call us. It's a toll-free line at 1-855-244-0077. That's 1-855-244-0077. Your thoughts and questions are welcome here. You can also... you can put them on my Facebook. I was looking over to see if Bob's here, but Bob's not here today. But you can also put them on my Facebook at Mac, the initial J, Michael McCoy. You've got me on Facebook, I'm sure, and ask a question. Now, this program is live today and it will be rebroadcast on 99.3 KTIA at some point in the near future when this still has, probably within a week.
We hope so, yes.
Well, we wanted to work with Sam's schedule today as he's in Des Moines today. So we're coming back. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. I love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Right here on WebcastOneLive.com.
Across America, there are countless numbers of people struggling with addiction and other life-controlling issues. Probably someone you know and love. There is a way out. There is hope. Transformations Treatment Center in Delray Beach, Florida, has a unique approach to substance abuse treatment. Call now and ask about our Guaranteed Success program or log on to transformationstreatment.com. Transformations. Change your life. Change your relationships. Transform your world.
Yes, now your favorite programs on Webcast One Live can all be watched and listened to on any Android or Apple device. Your phone, tablet, or iPad. Yes, your favorite shows on Webcast One Live are available live or on podcast wherever you go. Let me introduce to you some of our great shows.
Shalom! Every week on Understanding the World with Rabbi David Kaufman, we'll talk about issues in the Middle East, issues related to the Jewish tradition and religious traditions in general, and keep you up to date on exactly what's going on around the world. You may know some of the story, but you haven't heard all of the story until you've heard it on Understanding the World with Rabbi David Kaufman and our special guests we have on every week.
Hey, this is Doc with Doc and Lefty. I want to tell you about our brand new time slot. It's from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. It's on the same night, Tuesdays. We now follow Ed Fallon and the Fallon Forum on WebcastOneLive.com. I want to tell you a little bit about our show. Our show is focused on local, state, and national, and sometimes international politics. We like to keep people updated and informed. We also have very interesting guests. So please join us every Tuesday from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. on WebcastOneLive.com.
So when you want to watch your favorite Webcast One program, remember, there's an app for that. You know, there's an app for that.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit! You're our hero!
All right, we are back here with Sam Clovis, who's a candidate for U.S. Senate for Tom Harkin's seat, and we ought to leave the mics on the whole time because I was just telling Tom that my men's Bible study just blew up this morning because of the Grammys, and we're in the middle of, listen to this, Sam. We decided we wanted to unpack Romans the way Romans is supposed to be unpacked, and that's with little boundaries.
Right.
So we got together and we started on January 5th or whatever it was. Today was day 4. And we are, gentlemen, drum roll please, we are on chapter 1, verse 17. We are caught in this degradation as Paul just really gives it to the Romans about sexual depravity and... So anyway, but
and I say, why do you watch the Grammys? Do people watch it just because they want to be insulted and offended?
I have Facebook. I don't have to watch anything live. But this year's Grammys seem to be worse than any other when it comes to just what society is reflecting.
Despicable.
Yeah. All right, you had some questions. Go for it,
Sam. If you would, as best you can, objectively handicap the primary race, which you're involved in right now. Give us a bird's eye view of who's in it and what they're about.
Well, I think they're, of course, I'm in it, and as the Des Moines Register, which may or may not be the best, endorsement along the way. When the field got arrayed where we are, we had Sam Clovis. They said, "Well, anchor the right end of the line. No one will get to the right of him," and they're absolutely correct. And we have on the other end of that is Mark Jacobs. And
when
Mark,
I hold it, Shaban comes in there somewhere, doesn't he?
I'm giving you the other end. So it's.
You think Jacobs even the left of Shaban?
Yeah, I do actually.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I think the only thing Shaban is really would be considered not conservative on is his stance on gay marriage, because he's pro-life, but he's a person that has often said that we had to get past the issue. It's been decided by the court, and Scott is a very much a pragmatic person, and he's a businessman, and so he has a little bit different view. So I would put him right over here with Mark, but I think Mark is at the left end of the spectrum, and it's surprising because he's a retired energy executive, and he's very, very wealthy and is able to bring a lot of money into the game, and so that is an issue. And somewhere in between, we also have Paul Lundy. I think Paul is Paul's a very interesting person, and I'll probably leave it at that. And I'm not sure how serious this is. Paul has been a perennial candidate for Congress, for the House, a couple of 3 times, and he's an interesting guy. So he brings some different aspects. The other 2 candidates, the serious candidates in this, are Lieutenant Colonel and State Senator Joni Ernst, who is a battalion commander in the Iowa Guard and serving state senator from Red Oak. She has the endorsement of Kim Reynolds, and the implication there is that there's some support from Branstad area there.
Yes.
And that's an implication. I'm not sure if that's manifest yet, but there's some implication.
I've personally had some of that indication, yes.
Yes. and I think Joni she's a NRA member. She's a conservative and very much pro-life and pro-traditional marriage. And I think a lot of it comes down to whether or not she's been able to articulate her message adequately and perform well in the forums and the debates. The other candidate in the race that is a serious candidate is Matt Whitaker. Matt is a practicing trial attorney here in town. He's a former U.S. attorney in the Bush administration.
Remember that?
And he's a former candidate for state treasurer. I think he ran and lost that race. Matt is also a former Iowa football player, so he's got some name recognition.
Hawkeye legend,
and played on the last Rose Bowl team, and Matt is a very strong conservative as well. But again, I think the way this race is starting to percolate out of the coffee pot is that Jacobs, because of his money and because of his establishment ilk, I would say that he comes close to being a moderate Republican. We have other names for that. I won't call him, but he's a moderate Republican. I am a foursquare, articulate Russell Kirk, Bill Buckley conservative.
You're no rhino.
I am no rhino. I am not a rhino. So this whole issue is coming down, I think.
Is the field set, Sam?
I'm not
the ones
sure.
that you just laid out, are there going to be any late entrants?
I think there's a possibility of a late entrance. I think Bob Vander Plaats's shadow is hung over this race since August of last year. Bob has threatened to get in. I think he's going to make a decision in February.
What would happen if he does?
Well, I think that it's really interesting. It depends on the calculus that he has. I think he could raise a lot of money, and I think there would be a lot of super PAC money would come in behind him. So we would have 2 air wars going on, Bob's air war and Mark's air war.
Okay.
But
Bob would try at least get as close to your right as he could.
Well, I think he could, but I just don't think he has the breadth and depth on the issues that I do.
But here's what I'm afraid of, and I'm just going to lay it out for you. I'm afraid that if Bob Vander Plaats gets in, it further splinters the field that you're talking about. I do believe that you and Joni and Matt are the 3 serious candidates, and it's a matter of whether Jacobs can buy the thing with the money, the TV and the radio ads that I hear and see all the time. if Vanderplas gets in and further splits the support in your area, my concern would be he would hand this over to Jacobs, much as the conservatives did back in 2008 to John McCain in the presidential race. That's my concern. And
I think that's a message that ought to be conveyed to people who are interested in getting in this race. Because I think that if all of the conservatives out there who are considering getting in the race would get behind a real conservative in this race, then I don't think that we would have the opportunity to really put on a full court press. We would have the resources to go in there and we could compete. We don't have to spend as much money as Mark Jacobs because we have a ground game. Caucus night, the Clovis campaign, the 421 Republican locations had 300 people in 300 locations stand up and speak for me. That's presidential numbers. Those are presidential numbers.
You've got enthusiastic following. I've witnessed that.
Yeah.
Some very high-placed Republicans in the state, will go nameless, have said that you guys aren't raising any money.
Yeah.
That was before Jacobs got in the race.
Right.
The obvious answer to that, to me, is, and you're not going to raise any money until a winner is decided, and then all sorts of money, both in and outside the state, will flood in here because this is an absolutely essential Senate race if Republicans have any hope of reclaiming the U.S. Senate.
And it's eminently winnable. It's eminently winnable.
Well, I know that, and but here's, the rap on you that you and Matt and Joni haven't been able to raise any money is obvious because you don't have a lot of your own. You're successful. Matt's successful. Joni's probably got a few dollars, but you don't have that kind of money. And you won't have it until one of you wins out.
Right.
You're in a slugfest, and whoever comes out on top, then the money's going to flood in, and the money's not going to be an issue then, is it?
That's exactly right.
So I don't understand some aspects of this, and I certainly hope that Bob, who has run 3 times now for the governor's seat, is tired and will not get into this. I don't want it to be about Bob. Well, I wouldn't bet either way. Sam, would you put an odds on this?
I would say right now, if I had to say, I would say the chances are better than even that he gets in.
Mm. And I'll be very disappointed if that's happened.
Well, then somebody needs to tell him that.
Well, somebody has more clout with him than I do.
Yeah. But I think that, and I would say this, I think that the influence on Bob Vanderplas is not coming from the state of Iowa. This is coming from forces outside the state of Iowa. And these are names you would know. And I think that what's really been troubling about this is because these are people that are outside the state of Iowa, this is manipulation. This is about manipulation. And you can put any conspiracy on this you want. One of them is that they don't want a true conservative to win this seat because they know if I win that they don't have any control over me when I go to Washington. Others may have a little bit of that in them. I don't know. But I know for a fact that they aren't going to have any control over me. And this is one thing I think that really bothers them. Even if they can offer up someone like Bob who has, quote, unquote, conservative credentials, based on the people who are pushing him, then you have to ask yourself, are those conservative credentials legitimate? Because these are not conservatives that are pushing him. These are moderates in the party. These are people you know. But these are people who are moderates or big government people who are pushing him to get into this race.
Not because he can win, but because of the scenario that Jacobs would win then with a further splintering of the conservatives. Well, would this be like what happened in Missouri when the Democrats funded the Senate candidate down there? Knowing that he was the straw man and that they could bust him up in the general?
Yeah, they can win either way because if Jacobs wins the primary, he's going to be like McCain or Edwards. If Bob wins the primary and goes against Braley, not likely to win. Yeah. So they win either way.
Yeah, okay.
So you see where this is?
Yeah, you're saying if Jacobs gets in, they can deal with the moderate Republican, not a problem. Braley wins, all the better.
All the better.
Yeah, I got you. Well, that's scary, and I'm afraid something like that could happen,
Well, I do too, and this is one of the reasons I've been out here. I've tried to be, I can't be 6 people. I may be that big, but I can't be 6 people, but I can't get around to but one thing I want to tell you, over the last several weeks, and particularly since caucus night, We have seen, I'll just give you an example. I went to an event yesterday. We had one of our state senators announce his candidacy for the 3rd district seat. I asked him at another event, I said, do you mind if I just show up, because I know your wife is a big fan of mine. I want to go out and I want to say hi to her, congratulate her, and congratulate you. I'm not endorsing, I just want to come out and say hi. He said, great, we're good friends. He said, that'd be great. So I go out there after the event, and of course, this guy got to take his bow and his time in the sunshine, and we were kind of heading to the door. I could not get out of that place because I had almost every person there come up to me and tell me that they'd seen me at the state fair, or they'd seen me at Drake, or they'd heard me at a forum in Council Bluffs, or they had heard me on Jan, or they'd heard me on Simon. And they said, I'm with you. I'm in your. We didn't know any of them, but this is what's going on, and this is Polk County.
Right. Well, I hear that your message is resonating on the debates. You're going to have a lot more debates. Right. I'm hearing that Matt's, the two of you are the ones that I consistently hear are doing the best in the debates at this point.
Right.
And I don't think that's going to change.
No.
So how much time do we have for a break? I wanted to get into some other...
63 seconds.
63 seconds. When we come back, I'd like to get into some issues that are near and dear to you, some issues that may be near and dear to Mac and myself as well.
All right, we'll do that. Our special guest today is Sam Clovis. I just found him on Facebook. Clovis for Senate, is that right?
Yeah.
And is that your beautiful bride there in that picture next to you?
Yes, it is.
Oh, she's
I'm
a pretty
pretty sure. Yeah.
And we've actually have some people from the Sioux City area are listening to this.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah.
So I'm getting some feedback on Facebook. So Sam is running for Tom Harkin's seat for the U.S. Senate. And
how about it's a people's seat? You keep saying Tom Harkin's seat. How about it's the Iowa
Tom,
people's
you just
seat?
tell me what you want me to say.
Well, I hate to think that it
script.
belongs to Tom Harkin. That's my problem. You keep saying Harkin's seat. How about the people's seat?
The people's seat currently being occupied by the king of the steak, Mr. Tom Harkin, and we'll be back. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, love my job, couldn't do it without you, right here on webcast1live.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershad.
I'm administrative manager.
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotta be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's gonna be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're gonna do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there, they're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going, though. I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm going to take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
All right, we're back. Back with Sam Clovis, candidate for United States Senate, a seat currently held by, what's his name?
Bermuda
seat
Tom.
Currently held by Harkin, and he's been there way too long. We agree with it.
Yeah. I like that term.
We agree with that, but it's not Harkin's seat. It's a people's seat that is currently occupied by Tom Harkin.
I understand the people's seat. Yeah. Although I had somebody in my Bible study this morning make a wise observation after the speech last night from President Bush, President Obama. That was a slip. I'm sorry. The campaign speech that he gave last night.
Again.
It's not we the people anymore. It's we the government.
Yeah.
Well, it really is.
Yeah.
But, all right, so go ahead, Tom.
Mac, before I ask my question, I've been talking a while. Do you have a burning question that you want to ask him? I think issues ought to be the focus for a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, I have some questions. My questions are probably more social.
Right.
If you're in the United States Senate, what do we do with gay marriage? We're going to get gay marriage. I mean,
before we go leaping off that ledge, I think that, we ought to take a look at the way things ought to play out or might play out. I still think that senators have a right to Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution allows the Senate advice and consent on appointments, and some of those appointments are judges. And that is really, I think, is a battleground that's worth fighting over. If I end up on the Judiciary Committee or ever get a chance to sit down and screen judges as they come through, and certainly get a chance to speak on the floor about it, I think a judge ought to come in there and have a very good understanding of natural law. And if they don't understand natural law, then they probably don't understand the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. I would like to have a judge that has some idea what original intent means and being an originalist of the Constitution. And if they can't do that, then they probably don't need to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court. So those are some things that senators can do in that area. Also, there is nothing that says that we can't kick this, or it is now back, should be a state issue. Even in the state of Iowa, under the Varnum decision, the people of Iowa have never voted.
But every time a state votes, California, no, we don't want gay marriage.
Well,
some judge comes along and says, well, the will of the people shall not be done.
Well, I still think it comes back to the people. And if you have tenure operations like we did here, we got rid of 3 of those judges.
Yeah.
And I think that sent a very clear message. And we're still fighting that fight. I mean, the judges are still there. But I don't think that gay marriage is a done deal. And I think, by the way, gay marriage is really a stalking horse. Gay marriage is really what is out in front on this, because the true intent of that movement in the country is 14th Amendment protections for people who are in that lifestyle. That's what this is about, because the 14th Amendment protections then means that we can impose hate crimes on people who do not employ them. We have all of these court cases that are going on right now about people who won't take pictures at gay weddings, or they won't build cakes for gay couples.
Yeah.
But
you had one in here, Mac.
We have one tomorrow.
And that's all predicated on 14th Amendment. That's really what the goal is 14th Amendment protection.
Yeah.
Think about your Bible study. Think about your minister.
I know.
If that minister stands up and says something against homosexuality, that can be considered hate speech.
You really think it'll get that far?
Absolutely. That's the purpose of this. That's what this is about.
As in Canada.
This isn't about who you love or any of that other stuff. That isn't at all what it's about. It's about getting 14th Amendment protections for people in those lifestyles.
Yeah. From Canada.
From my worldview, this is the accuser. That's my word for the dark. This is the accuser, and this is his last push to the to the goal line.
Yeah.
Because if he can grab this,
he's
done everything.
The fundamental issue is that there are four strengths of America. There are four enduring strengths of America. One is individual liberty. Individual liberty, not freedom, liberty. The exercise of conscience, the protection of the soul. Liberty. The exercise of free will and conscience and the protection of the soul. Liberty. Then that individual then becomes part of the basic building block of society, which is a traditional nuclear family. The second strength of America. The traditional nuclear family then comes in and joins, through faith, the primacy of faith in this country, through our religious organizations. And we see the left trying to change that from freedom of religion to freedom to worship. If you change the nomenclature, then you change the definition of the First Amendment, which is wrong. And the fourth strength of America is now that we have the individual liberty, the family unit, the primacy of faith, then we all join together voluntarily in community. Imagine what has gone on in the last 60 years in this country, how government has done everything in its power to take away and limit individual liberty, to deconstruct the family, to attack the church, and take down community. If you do that, and if government is successful doing that, then nothing stands between the individual and government, and then you have a totally dependent society that operate under the soft tyranny of a ruling elite. That is exactly what we are faced with today.
My mother, who was a Superior Court justice,
right,
and teaches at the judges' school in Reno, and she's just an incredible individual. She will tell you that her biggest concern in the last periods of her life is your number one. She believes that we are being...
Absolutely.
That our liberties are being stripped from us.
The thing that I oftentimes, and I've come to this, and one of the things that I think is one of the most important notions that people must absorb and understand, if you are an American in particularly, liberty is everything. Liberty, the exercise of free will, this exercise of free will, the right of conscience, the idea then that you have the ability then to operate in this environment, and we have an environment that should allow you to exercise conscience. When that is strictured, you can end up taking away my freedom. The freedom is that I can't drive 100 miles an hour down Grand. Okay, so that's limiting my freedom. But you have not taken away my liberty. When you then start to come in and says, I cannot exercise my conscience, such as practicing religion the way I see fit, or if I want to protest something, then I ought to have the right, or if I want to vote a particular way, I ought to have the right to do that, or if I want to buy a 32-ounce soda, I ought to be able to do that. When you start doing that, you are fundamentally deconstructing the society that we live in. And that, to me, is one of the most dangerous things that we have going on in this country, is the assault on individual liberty.
Sam, we had a guest on here many months ago. A friend of mine was the chair for the Iowa Democratic Party for many years, a guy named Rob Tully. I don't know if you know who he is.
Know the name.
And he's one of my cigar buddies, and I've known Rob for many years. Obviously, we don't agree on much politics, but we got into this issue, and I thought we were making some pretty good points, and he finally said, well, you guys are dinosaurs. He says, in essence, we've got the next generation, and in a few more years, he says, you know, your thoughts are going to be so outdated and antiquated. We've got the young people, is what he was saying to us. And as I look at the opinion polls, it's no accident that the indoctrination of our young going into the public school system is exactly what's happening. How do you deal with that?
Well, I think that one of the things, local control.
So you're not a supporter of Common Core?
Absolutely not. I think Common Core is it's not education, it's indoctrination. It's worse than Race to the Top. It's worse than No Child Left Behind. And any time that you remove control away from the local school board or the local school district, or you don't offer choice to parents, and I'm this one. Here's how radical I am. I think that a person that homeschools ought to have that money follow that kid. If that parent wants to have that tax dollars, those $12,600 a year that we're paying for this, if they want to send that kid to a parochial school or a Catholic school, they ought to be able to send him to that school, and that money ought to follow the kid.
Sam Clovis, he's running for the seat that will be opened when Tom Harkin leaves. He's retired. Sam is a candidate for that seat for the U.S. Senate on the Republican ticket. A crowded ticket. Are you getting information maybe now that'll help you make an informed vote? We're coming back.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart. And it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
All across America, there are countless numbers of people struggling with addiction and other life-controlling issues. Probably someone you know and love. There is a way out. There is hope. Transformations Treatment Center in Delray Beach, Florida, has a unique approach to substance abuse treatment. Call now and ask about our Guaranteed Success program or log on to transformationstreatment.com. Transformations. Change your life. Change your relationships. Transform your world.
We're coming back here in the last segment with Sam Clovis here in Max World on 99.3 KTIA, powered by webcast1live.com. Tom, you've got a few more questions as we wrap up today.
Well, I do, and there's a number. I mean, even an hour is not enough for the guy like Sam. We're just starting to scratch the surface here, Sam. You were talking about one of the things that is a high point of priority for you is the tax structure and the economy.
Right.
Do you want to share your thoughts? You were giving me some off the air, and I was nodding my head and saying yes. Tell people what we were talking about.
I really think, there are two parts of this, of course, on fiscal policy and taxes is we have the revenue side, and we'll talk about in taxes, and we also have the expenditure side. The revenue side, I think, is two parts as well. One is the income tax that we have, and the other is corporate tax structure. I'm a fair tax guy. I think that we ought to have a national sales tax. I'm one that is on the bottom end of that. I mean, I'm an 18-19%er as opposed to a 23%er.
Right. And I think it's helpful. I've discussed this issue a lot. I was just discussing it with a group of Iowa State students at a class last night. I think you can call it by fair tax, but then you got to quickly identify it as a national sales tax so they'll understand what you're talking about.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's a national sales tax, and what that means is you get rid of the 16th Amendment. There is no backdoor for Congress to come back in and then invoke an income tax, which then changes the national sales tax to an ad valorem tax, which is what they have in Europe. So we don't want that. So a national sales tax, so let's say anywhere from 18 to 23%. Barring that, if we can't get that done, and we can at least make the tax flatter and fairer on that side,
a la Forbes.
Yeah, exactly. Steve Forbes' ideas. One thing we can do that changes the economy overnight is changing the corporate tax rates from 39.5% to 10%. I would, in a perfect world, would get rid of corporate taxes because those are really income taxes that we're paying, because corporations don't pay taxes. Those are costs that are passed on to the customer. But in order to do this, I think if we could get that corporate tax rate down to 10%, eliminate some of the subsidies and tax credits and some of the other.
Could you do it overnight, or would
Yes.
you have to gradually work?
No. I think we could streamline. We could get that done in a very quick fashion. I would say we phase it in over the course of 3 years. It would be easy to do. And imagine what happens to the certitude that we go to businesses then. And when you have corporate tax rates that go from the highest in the developed world to the lowest in the developed world, what happens to all of the offshoring that's going on right now? It all comes home. And then we repatriate that money at the same rate, which is insignificant, because now we have trillions of dollars of capital that are now available. Right. And also it will induce overseas companies to come here. That all contributes to the GDP. So the gross domestic product is a very important part of this. So and by the way,
well, we were talking about Macedonia being one of those places last night at the dinner table after I and some of the finance professors, and that was one of the issues we talked about. Macedonia and the Caymans and other places where the money has been going, bring it here.
Yeah, absolutely. And what better place to bring it than here? Because we're more secure, we have a much larger apparatus, we have the economy of scale, we can do all of those things. So I think those are the things that would change the economy almost overnight. And one of the things that I borrowed from Rand Paul, and I think it's important here, is let's take a look at $170 billion in corporate taxes that would come in through this system. Take half of that money and put it into an infrastructure lockbox and distribute that money, whatever, $85 billion on a per capita basis. Imagine what that means for Iowa every year.
Boy, it's big, Sam. Along these same lines, one of the things I was hitting on last night, Federal Reserve, besides the tax system, has given a huge benefit to borrowers by keeping the rates artificially low for going back down. Greenspan and Bernanke has further that goal, and it has punished savers. We are not able as a saver to get a reasonable return on your money.
So why save?
And that's exactly right. And that troubles me. And the soundness of our currency. Officially, Nixon pulled the plug in 1971 by discontinuing the tie to the dollar to gold. And we're still ostensibly the international reserve currency, but we were made that back in 44 with the Bretton Woods Agreement because the dollar was fully convertible to gold. And so it was just easier to use the dollar. Well, we took, I won't use the term I was about to use on the air, we took and we ameliorated that step by step by step. Johnson did the biggest deal, and then Nixon finally put the final knock to the head on that. Are you concerned enough about the fiat currency system and what happens?
I don't know that we could ever walk it all the way back to tie it to gold again, because I think it would be very difficult. I'm not sure what the gold reserves are out there. We have so much currency out there.
They won't tell us, so we don't know.
Well, and the other thing, we really don't know how much currency is out there. I mean, because when you have an expansionary monetary policy, which is where we are, quantitative easing, we're buying up bonds, we're flooding the world with dollars. You know, and I have the analogy that when you do quantitative easing, it's like making Kool-Aid. Your mom made Kool-Aid. She used 2 quarts of water, a package of Kool-Aid, and a cup of sugar. You put that in there, and it looked like Kool-Aid, tasted like Kool-Aid. Now let's take those same ingredients and put it in 5 gallons of water, and what do you have? It doesn't look like Kool-Aid. It doesn't taste like Kool-Aid. It's not Kool-Aid. But that's the effect of quantitative easing on the value of the dollar. And when you water the dollar down that dramatically, which has been done at a rate that is unconscionable to me.
Unprecedented, and it would be felt harder, Sam, if we hadn't have been in this deflationary vortex, been masked over by the paper.
And where's pumping? It's pumping into the stock market.
That's the fear that Bernanke has had. He's probably one of the top scholars of the Great Depression, and he has been scared to death that this deflationary vortex would take us down to another deflationary depression. So at least in his defense, to some degree, I think there's a valid concern he's had, but the cure may be worse than the ailment that he was fighting. That's my concern, because I remember I'm only a few years younger than you, Sam.
Right.
I remember buying my first house in 77 at 8%.
Right.
81, I went down to Midland, Texas, was working for Merrill Lynch, and I paid 18 3/4% interest on my next mortgage with good credit.
Right.
Now, imagine what that would do to the price of the federal government if we had to fund $17, $18 trillion with reasonable interest money, or what the American consumer, what are they going to do with interest like that?
This is the point, though. I think, Tom, we're missing the other side of this. Is we're talking monetary policy, and I think Milton Friedman would be sitting in here and smiling broadly. What we're missing is the fact that we have irresponsible fiscal policy, which means we don't have any control in spending, we don't have any tax structure that's workable, and because we don't have a complement to the Federal Reserve monetary policy, we are stuck with whatever is in their quiver, and right now they only have one arrow, and that's quantitative easing, unfortunately.
Oh, we didn't even get to all the important questions that I wanted to ask. You two dinosaurs sitting around talking about money. Sam Clovis has been our guest today. How can they get a hold of you?
SamClovis.com. It's the best. That's a website. They can email me directly at sam@samclovis.com, and you can text Sam at 313131. Sam and 313131. And any of those will get you hooked up with me, and I think that's great. And I need help. I need all the help I can get out there.
We look forward to having you back.
It's wonderful, and thanks for having me. This is great.
All right, we'll see you again next time. And until we see each other again, I'm J. Michael McCoy. Thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Do me one favor, would you? Before we see each other and talk again, just one thing. Just pray.